Tom Kuypers has spent close to 3 decades helping to preserve Missouri's historic resources.
I grew up in the West, out in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and there was a beautiful old house there on Cary Boulevard. And Cary was the boulevard where all the old ranchers from the old West built their homes in the area around 1890 when cattle was prime, and you had a lot of millionaires in Cheyenne. There was this beautiful home. It was called the Van Tassel Castle, and it was from a cattle rancher by the name of T.M. Van Tassel. And my closest friend in Cheyenne, his father was the leading physician and surgeon in the Wyoming capital. And it was just great to go over to his house in this beautiful Van Tassel Castle, they called it, and play there. And he had a huge garage, which was really the old stable and so forth. And it was a historic place. I went off to the university, came back a couple of years later, and the house was gone, just gone. And what had happened was Dr. Coford sold the house, and we have a new buyer. He was a speculator, a land speculator, and that house was gone, and in its replacement was a drugstore and a strip shopping mall. And I said, boy, that can't happen in this country. It just can't happen, but it did. And I, from that day on, I said, whatever I can do to save an old building somewhere that's historically significant, I'll do everything in my power to do it. Well, here I am, and I have little power, as little as one can get, but by serving on something like historic preservation societies and so forth, you at least lend voice and you lend concern to something that's very important, and that's historical preservation. And that's the story of how I got into this.
From 1990 to 1994, he served on the Missouri Advisory Council for Historic Preservation. He rejoined the council in 2005 and remains an active member. As a member of the Advisory Council, he was involved with the approval of over 900 properties on the National Register of Historic Places. Tom has also served as a member of the St. Charles County Historic Advisory Board and a board member for the St. Charles County Historical Society. He aided in the establishment of historic design guidelines for the Midtown Community Association, the National Register Historic District where he lives, and also served as the association's president for a time. He and his wife, Patricia, purchased the historic Oliver L. and Catherine Link House in 1984, had it listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and have painstakingly restored and preserved the home's historic integrity for 37 years.
Tom, she said, I want you to take a look at this thing, but now don't go wild over the thing. Just keep your cool, and we'll see if we can't negotiate, to purchase it. I went in there and said, wow, look at this, this little, I gave away the farm right there. It was interesting. The place was, well, it was a money pit, but it was well worth the while. In fact, anybody who gets into historic preservation, you've got to love it, and you got to put an awful lot of elbow grease into the house.
Tom has also spent a total of 19 years on the St. Charles Historic Landmarks Preservation and Architectural Review Board and currently serves as vice chair.
Yeah, after a while you can pretty well tell if a house has been taken care of and if it still has retained its historic integrity. And boy, you've got a lot of them right here in St. Charles. This place is loaded with them. And that's why I cringe at vinyl windows. Oh man, don't do that. Whatever you do, don't put a vinyl window in there. And here it comes. And they'll say, well, he lasts for 20 years or something like that. Well, they don't really. It's just not true.
Missouri Preservation would like to thank Mr. Kuypers for his dedication to historic preservation in both St. Charles and the state of Missouri for these many years.
And I'm an amateur at this. I'm no professional. In high school, I had 4 years of Latin, and I love it to this day. But amateur comes from the Latin derivative amo, and amo is to love. And an amateur is somebody who loves something. And that's why amateur sports are so important. You're not paid to do it. You're an amateur. You're doing it of the love of the game. I'm an amateur when it comes to historic preservation because I just love old houses. That's all there is to it.